American officials accuse the Chinese company and the one in Singapore, itself a subsidiary of the Chinese firm, of falsifying documents for things like alcohol, tobacco, and cigarettes. And in doing so, they say the companies have helped the DPRK get around the UN sanctions. They've also accused the Russian firm and one Russian individual of providing port services on several occasions to DPRK flagships, they say at least 6 times. The U.S. Treasury Department says the DPRK relies on foreign firms to make its money. It says Pyongyang makes over $1 billion a year just from the cigarette trade alone, and that it can't do so without accomplices outside of its borders. Now, Washington has been pressing key players to enforce the UN-backed sanctions strategy. The U.S. ambassador to the global body recently called out Moscow and Beijing directly. Nikki Haley said in July that Russia and China were blocking efforts to hold violators to account. She urged them to keep up the economic pressure campaign on the DPRK. Now, in a statement on Wednesday, the U.S. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin wrote that his department will continue to implement existing sanctions on North Korea and will take action to block and designate companies, ports, and vessels that facilitate illicit shipments and provide revenue streams to the DPRK. He also said there would be continued consequences for anyone who violates the sanctions until, he said, there's a full, verified denuclearization of the DPRK. Now, China says it's doing its part, and in the past, it has rejected claims that Chinese firms were complicit in any of the alleged violations. Roby Rettenberg, CGTN in Washington.